Okay, I believe we're live. First stream on the Robo Shaman channel. I won't normally start so rough like this, but I got to test. Okay, we're good. Audio's good. Everything's good. Okay, so what we're doing is I'm going to do a live build of a custom GPT in the second half of this video. And in the first half of this, I'm going to explain what custom GPTs are, why you should consider using them, and essentially the basics to building one. And this should be usable by anyone with even a basic understanding of using GPT. Obviously, there's a lot of AI tools out there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, you don't need to. This next piece I'm going to say, which is that if you are familiar with LLMs, basically AI chat platforms, we have ChatGPT, we have Claude, Grok, etc. They all have different strengths, different weaknesses. This video is not about any of the other ones or how to utilize them in any way. This is specifically if you're a ChatGPT user and you find yourself wanting to automate anything that you do repeatedly, manually. For instance, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, let's say you want to overhaul your website to make sure that it is up to snuff in terms of best practices for contemporary marketing. That's something where it'll have a few steps involved to achieving that, which might be one, I need to research what are the best practices, who are implementing them, and there's some ways to reverse engineer that information by, say, taking someone in the same field as you. For instance, I'm a psychotherapist, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a custom GPT that can look at a website either by providing a link to it, screenshot, or copy pasting the content, and then analyze it to extract what they're doing successfully, distill it down into best practices and implementable principles, and then take the same principles and audit your own website against them so that you can basically get a draft of a to-do list of how to overhaul your website. I'm currently thinking about overhauling my own website, and one of the best ways to learn something when it comes to development is to have a project in mind that you want to build and to build it and learn as you go. Now, I've done a bunch of custom GPTs and I've done something similar to this before, but this is something that I need to update. I need to build a new custom GPT for, and so this was my target project for this tutorial. So what this video or live stream, if you're tuning in, unlikely because I'm just launching this platform, just shouting into the abyss. But what this video will be is essentially at the beginning, we're going to go over what is a custom GPT. Just fundamentally, what is it? Because it might just sound like gibberish to you. Two, why you might want to use it. And then three, how to build one. And then I'm going to do a live demo of me building one. And one of the reasons why I want to do it live and just totally rough, raw cut of this is I want to narrate my thought process. And I've zoomed in my chat here, as you can see, so you can actually see what I'm typing. And that will hopefully be dense with information on what this looks like. Now, am I the best person on the planet for doing this? No, but I consider myself to be adept at it. So there will be something of value in this. I think there will be a lot of things of value. And for some people, this might be incredibly valuable. It just depends where you are on the spectrum of your AI use and your own skill. If you're a developer, if you're a programmer, you have any sort of software engineering experience whatsoever, part of this will be tailored to you as well to translate what you've learned as a programmer, regardless of the languages that you know how to write in, whether that's Python, C++, doesn't matter. Translate the principles that you've learned there into implementing them as an AI developer, or vibe coder as they call it, without me actually doing anything code related. And we'll get into that. But to start, I need to take a deep breath. I'm all excited. Sip of my zero sugar poison, and then we'll get going. I'm so excited about this. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I had to wait. The day that I had this big window to do this stream, I was all ready to go, and then YouTube said you have to apply to be able to stream, and we have to approve it first. Usually only takes a day, but it just was. I instantly ran into a wall. So I applied for that and then went back to reality for a week or two. But now I'm here and I'm ready to go. So, with all that said, let's get into it. Here you can see basic ChatGPT interface. If you want to access ChatGPT, if you don't know at all how to do that, you just go to, chat.openai.com, and that will take you to a sign-in page if you're not already signed in. If you have any Google account, sign in with a Google account. You have free access to a lot of what ChatGPT has to offer. But custom GPTs, as far as I know, are for Plus subscribers or beyond. $20 a month pays for its weight. I was going to say it's worth its weight in gold, but it pays for itself with like even a week of use if you're actually pointing it at things that are helpful to you. I find that I've gotten thousands of dollars of value, and sometimes within 1 month billing cycle. So it's worth it. Let's just say that it's worth it. And watch this video if you're unsure, and I think you'll also see that there's that value. So real quick overview of the ChatGPT interface. When you first land, normally it'll look, something more like this, but we're zooming way in so you can see what I'm doing. At the top here, in any instance of chat you're doing, you see that you can switch models. We have auto, which basically decides, should this do instant or should this spend more time thinking? It'll auto decide based on what it determines from, what you ask of it. So if you ask it something really complicated, if it's on auto, it should switch to thinking mode. Instant, also very good, but it won't add that extra layer or however many layers of thought and reasoning. So that's what this is. You have legacy models here. Oh, there used to be a lot. Now we only have 4.0. We're not going to use that. We're going to use the latest and greatest. Over on the left, start new chats, search your chats. Library, which is all media you've created. Codex, which is for actual coding. Not going to get into that today. Same with projects. But down here, before we get to conversations, here's all my conversations that I have had. When you use ChatGPT, if you don't know, provided you're not using a temporary chat up here, your conversation will be stored here. And if you have advanced memory on, it will remember or be able to access details and context from past conversations, which is one of the best strengths of ChatGPT over the other LLMs, if you use it enough. I have used it since it came out, basically, or at least since GPT-2, and it knows a lot about me. Now, you can get into a whole debate about privacy and ethics and all of that. I'm not here to get into that. If you are someone who wants to min-max your AI capabilities, you'll have to have that internal debate with yourself and decide where you land on it. But the more data that you do provide about yourself, even just through using it, the more helpful it will be for you. For instance, if you write a lot, like I write blogs, and I like to have it draft me outlines and like core structures of ideas, and then I'll go back and rewrite and edit myself and vet the content before I post it. But I can spend a lot less time doing that because it knows so much about my writing style, my voice, depending on the context of what it is that I'm trying to write, whether it's a social media post or a blog, whatever. It knows enough about me now that it can usually, now it can nail my voice, usually on the first go, which is amazing. So there's that part of it. And then between your conversations and, these other features up here, you'll see custom GPTs. And these are all ones that I have built. And I'm going to use these as examples to show you sort of what you can do with them. Some of these I just built as experiments. Some of them I built for fun, entertainment. Some are very serious for business stuff. All sorts of things. But the idea here is, rather than having a conversation where, I want to research how are successful therapists marketing themselves today, not a year ago, because the landscape's changing quickly. Therapists who are infusing AI into their business practices already have a massive advantage, and you're basically auto-losing to any entrepreneur or business that has successfully implemented AI into any level of their business, whether that's just compressing, the workflow chains on various, tasks that are related to the business, whether it's related to marketing, outreach, anything. If you're not using AI, you are losing. And that's just a bittersweet truth. I say bittersweet because, again, the ethics and morality or whatever around how much we should adopt this, I think is subjective, and there's no place for me to say whether or not you should use AI. But if you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, a creative, an influencer, whatever, you will not survive without using AI, because the advantages provided by AI are so significant that it's an auto loss if you're not using it. I don't think this is debatable, though I'd be happy to answer questions or discuss that and share my reasoning on that, either in the chat or in a separate direct message me. You can find everything that I do as part of this Robo Shaman platform that I'm starting on my Facebook page, business page. You just look for Robo Shaman AI, or here on this YouTube channel, also Robo Shaman AI. Now, what is a custom GPT then? So if you go to your GPTs over here, which will probably be empty if you've never used them, and you click Explore, and you can see custom GPTs other people have built. Now, essentially what these are chat-based apps. Fundamentally, that's what a custom GPT is. It's an application that is chat-based. You might be thinking, I don't know how to make an app. Why this? I'm already overwhelmed. That's the beauty of this. If you're a developer, a good way to think of this is using AI and LLMs, you're fundamentally programming in English. And so you are only limited by your ability to articulate. And if you're not a developer, you can stumble through this, and you can have the AI itself help you build the GPT anytime you feel stuck. And I'll get into that when we get into how to build them. But what a custom GPT is a chat-based app that can do, anything and everything that you can think of that could be navigated or worked through or worked on through iterative conversation, back and forth, talking. Meaning, if I could hire a marketing team and talk to them, and they're going to go do whatever they need to do and then relay that information to me, et cetera, there's a conversation there that can be done with an AI through chatting. If I'm going to overhaul my website, if I'm going to build an app with actual code, if I'm going to figure out how to research deep concepts in psychotherapy, I can have it research, at my direction, whatever concept I want to, bring the information back, discuss it, and then do whatever I want with that. Everything done through chat. For some, this might feel nebulous or unclear, but I think it will become clear as you see me work through this. But fundamentally, a custom GPT is a chat-based app that you use AI to use. So you can see here some of the featured, curated top picks of this week. So these are, custom GPTs other people have built that you can use. We have an Expedia one, video AI by NVIDIA, Canva. None of these are great examples for what I want to show you. So here's a really good one. Write for Me, supercharged writing assistant. So if I want to use this custom GPT, I literally just click it. I'll get information on it, and I can start a chat. And what this does basically is it converts the model. Remember, I showed you the models up here. It converts the model into one that has specific instructions designed to make this chat a contained conversation where it is hyper-focused and its abilities have been handcrafted or personally tailored to this task. Usually, you could do something like, nix the usually there. Let's say you wanted something to write for you. You could just open up a blank chat and say, I want you to write something for me, and give it as much information as you want, and you could get great results that way. But what if you want to do that again on another day? You can go back to the original conversation you started, and it will have some of the context of your writing approach from in that conversation stored, and the way that conversations are saved. So I might say, like, write me a 1-paragraph social media post where, actually, we're going to even take a step. I guess we're going to zoom out and do a meta prompt here. So what we're actually going to say is, for any requests I make in this conversation, I want you to behave
as a social media post writer for my Robo Shaman AI platform, which is basically AI consultation and coaching services. Give it a little more context. I am a psychotherapist as my primary profession, and this is a side project. So you'll notice something right away if you're a programmer, how I use parentheses and hyphens to separate the logic of what I'm saying. So you might say, so you can see fundamentally this is the core thing that I want this conversation to do. Anytime I talk to it, aka for any requests I make in this conversation, I want you to behave as a social media post writer for this platform. What is that platform? We parenthesize it. That's a word. It's a little bit of extra context. You can write however you want. You don't need to write like you're talking to a person. In fact, I encourage you not to, and to practice and play and build your own way of building out logic and communicating what it is specifically that you want AI to do. So in a general sense, I could do something like this, and we'll even switch this to regular GPT-5. So now okay, we're still in right for me. I want to, for this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a blank chat. So you can see blank GPT chat. We submit this really simple prompt. For this conversation, I'll write all responses if I'm crafting social media content. So now I could say, write a post about blah, blah, blah. It'll give me the post. Great. And then this conversation will, after I'm done with it, you can see it appears here. So I could go to a different conversation or, reload ChatGPT entirely. Anytime I want to revisit, this task of writing social media posts for this project, I would just open up this conversation and it already has these rules. Now, there are limits to this. When the conversation gets really long, it starts to have contextual contamination where it starts, maybe you add a rule for a specific post, but then it applies that rule to every subsequent request. There becomes all kinds of weird issues around using the same conversation over and over and over again. I could copy this prompt, start a new conversation, and build from the ground up. The idea here is now we're starting to repeat tasks in a very inefficient way. So it would be better if I just, use something tailored specifically for what I want, whether that's right for me, that this is very general, or a different custom GPT. What I really want to do here in the example I just gave would be to build a custom GPT that always knows the rules that I want to give it, so that anytime I open a conversation with that custom GPT, it knows what to do. So I'll give you some examples of some custom GPTs that I have built. Again, some of these for fun, some for experiment, some for research, some for professional goals, but I've built quite a few. So as you can see, I have a whole bunch. Some of them I make public. Some of them are only for me. I have a student loan guide I made. Quick, effective guidance on student loans with informed advice and research. If you click this, custom GPT, now you're in a conversation with student loan guide. It gives you some example prompts. You could say, like, how can I consolidate my student loans, explain the latest federal loan changes, whatever. This is an expert on student loan information and navigating it. So what I might do in this case, if I was using this, is like, let's say I wanted to consolidate all my loans and I was wondering who the best student loan debt consolidation company is, or what my options are. I could literally ask it to research it. You could do this with general chat GPT, but because of the narrow focus of this student loan guide, it's generally going to be more efficient, more effective, and most importantly, if this is something I'm going to revisit for whatever reason, I have it saved as a custom GPT. This one, I really only needed to use it one time, but I made a custom GPT for it and made it public because I thought that would be something that could be helpful to other people, which also dictates for me whether or not I make something public or build it at all. So you can see I have Money Mirror, analyzes bank statements to create personalized, empathetic financial strategies. I one time did basically a full financial audit in terms of, I built Money Mirror and gave it some bank statements for all of my accounts, without obviously important account information, but so that I could see where like leakage was. I can literally have a conversation about my financial data with something that operates as an expert, and you're essentially only limited by your ability to articulate and your ability to conceptualize the question that you want to ask. all of these have so many different uses. What's another good one? Here's one: Platinum Trophy Guide. I'm a gamer. I'm a completionist. I wish I had more time to game. I don't, but when I do play, my favorite thing to do is to just do achievements on PlayStation games. When you get all the achievements in a game, you get the Platinum Trophy. And so I built a custom GPT basically that hallucinates a lot less often than normal AI and knows specifically that its purpose is to help with completing achievements. So I might open this and ask it a question about, like, this achievement that I read about isn't, I'm not getting it even though I completed the requirements. Why is that? And it might go and look for common bugs or issues and then come back with information. I might ask it, what do I need to consider when I'm starting this game, etc. And you can see 100 plus chats. Who knows what the actual number is, but I publish it for everyone. Love Life Coach was something that I built as a psychotherapist, which is very simple, friendly, casual, sex positive relationship coach built for everyone, 100 plus chats. The idea behind this one is very obvious. It's how do I communicate with my partner? And the sex positive piece is in there because by default, ChatGPT errs on the side of caution when it comes to intimacy or anything like that. As a psychotherapist, this is stuff I talk about all the time with clients and especially couples. And I had this thought of, like, it would be nice for people to have access to something like this who are uncomfortable talking about this stuff or don't otherwise know what to do or how to approach even investigating this kind of support. So I just built this as a public thing, partly as a test, but I thought it would be useful, and sure enough, lots of people are using it. I have all kinds of stuff. One I used to use for building my private practice was Therapist Practice Partner, supportive AI assistant for therapists, streamline notes and organize your practice, 60 plus. This one only people with a link can use, so I've sent this to fellow therapists. This one isn't available to everyone because GPT is a little, or Chat GPT is a little bit finicky about what you can make publicly available as a custom GPT when it comes to health advice, including mental health advice. And even though this is really about building a practice, I believe it wouldn't let me publish it publicly. So I just did, anyone with a link. Same thing here with Super Self Helper, which is basically an interactive digital journey emulating contemporary psychotherapy. So you might be thinking, well, couldn't I just accomplish any of these things with any chat? Like, I just open up a chat, I tell it what I want to do. If I'm only going to do it once, wouldn't that be fine? Absolutely, that is true, but you can refine GPT's capabilities with better rules and instructions for what it's supposed to do that are much more complicated than you're going to want to type either more than once or maybe even at all. You might just use a custom GPT someone else has already built. But fundamentally, as you can see here, custom GPTs are, again, a chat-based application that can do anything that you can do in ChatGPT, but it can do it better, more efficiently, and it's repeatable. That's like my three favorite things about it. So in the case of what I want to do today, I'm going to build a custom GPT that is designed basically dual purpose. One, to research and determine what best practices are for a therapist in private practice, for marketing and for web design specifically. It needs to be able to research and understand what that is. And then two, to audit my own website or marketing materials against those best practices, and then give me guidance on how I can overhaul my website. So real quick, what I'll show you is, here's my website as a psychotherapist. Very happy with this, but currently the way I'm marketing myself is anxiety, trauma, OCD, major life transitions. This is definitely still my specialty and my focus, but more and more I've been building out a framework of using EMDR, which is one of my specialties. You can see here, if you go to trauma and unprocessed experiences, you can see there's a button to learn more about EMDR. You don't need to know anything about EMDR. It's just a therapy modality designed for trauma. But what I began to think about was, I want to make it more clear to give people hope who feel very stuck, like they cannot break out of their patterns no matter what. Maybe they've tried trauma therapy in quotes and didn't feel any movement. And I want to make it more clear how you can fundamentally look at the brain, mental health, behavior, your emotions, as all operating as an output of the brain's mechanism of operating through association and patterns. That's basically how our brains work. We learn by associations. When we're an infant, and every time we look at our parent, let's say our mom, and they say mama to us, we are fusing their identity, our perception of them with this verbal sound, mama. And so as that association is made, you then know that that's what mama is. You might not know what mama means, but you develop that understanding, and then you'll build on that association, and then it can eventually, mama will be associated with safety and comfort and every memory you have with this person. And the brain basically builds out this network of electrical highways, neural pathways that are, there's billions of them. It's immensely complicated, this web of association. And in the same way that it does, I associate positivity with mama or whatever, you also can associate certain things with threat. Every time I give a public speech, I have a panic attack. By virtue of saying that, you are reinforcing the association: public speech, panic attack, public speech, threat. And that's how the brain works. And you can basically reverse, for most people, there are exceptions, which is not worth getting into, but you can reverse a lot of this. And you can use EMDR to do it effectively. And I found some very cool and creative ways to do that. And I want to find a way to implement that into my marketing material. That's my whole goal here. So you don't need to know that psychotherapy piece, but I wanted to give you that context so you understand what's driving this overhaul of my website. And since I want to be able to possibly overhaul my website again using a similar method, I want to build a custom GPT to do this. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so here we are at the GPT creation page. Again, to get here, if you're at the main Chat GPT interface, go over to GPTs, click Explore, and click Create. Or if you have GPTs, you go to My GPTs, then click Create here. But we'll just click Create here. Now, there's two ways that I have found to do this, and I'm going to go over the simple way and then the advanced method at the end for if you want like the highest level that I found, to build the best custom GPTs, which is fundamentally how I'm going to build this one, but I'm going to do the simple method first. So it tells you, hi, I'll help you build a new GPT. You can say something like, make a creative who helps generate visuals for new products, or make a software engineer who helps format my code. What would you like to make? You can have a conversation here and iteratively build it out. This I highly suggest if you're totally new to this, starting here, playing with this. Have your idea in mind and then build it out here, talk to it. And as you build it, you can test it over here on the right. If you click configure, you can have a bit more of a granular approach. You can choose the logo for your custom GPT on your own. You can name it, add its description, but here is the sweet spot, the instructions. This is the system prompt for your custom GPT. And this is where the meat and potatoes of the code in English, fundamentally, that your custom GPT runs on. Now, let's say I am going to build this marketing auditor GPT for my private practice, and I happen to have a bunch of really good marketing material saved as PDFs. Maybe I took a class with a popular private practice marketing influencer like Anna Walker. She's very famous in private practice psychotherapy community, particularly in California. She knows a lot about marketing best practices, and you can sign up for her courses. And she has both free and paid, I believe, PDF guides on all of the marketing stuff. I could upload those PDFs so that it could be a fundamental knowledge base that it draws from. I wouldn't do that specifically because that's her approach. That's her marketing material. I'd basically be taking all of her ideas and building out something new, but it would still be based on her work. To me, that's, I don't think there's a specific law and ethics around that, though there might be. It's not something that's within my ethics to do. I respect tremendously the work of all entrepreneurs, particularly in my own field, just because of, familiar pains and challenges that she's already walked through. I'm not going to fast track that and steal her information and build on it, but it's an example of how you might use this. Now, if you wanted to make an Anna Walker GPT where basically you can talk with Anna Walker and you've already paid for the courses, you own these files, and it's a private GPT, that might be a much better way to do that. If you were, so what's another example? Let's say I wanted to build the Love Life Coach, which is basically a chatbot that is an expert in everything it needs to know about clinical counseling for couples, but I want it to come from a specific lens. Let's say emotion focused therapy. This is what I'm trained in as a couples therapist. You don't need to know what that is, just know that it's called EFT. I might upload a bunch of EFT information here so that it has that as part of its fundamental knowledge base. Whatever the case, I will only use this for like specific custom GPTs that I need it to have a very nuanced understanding that I already have information on. It's not necessary. So let's say that. And then, down here we have recommended model. You can choose if you wanted to use the legacy model, 5 or 5 thinking, and it will always default on that. I'm going to use no recommended model. And then what capabilities should it have? Web search is necessary for what I'm going to be doing because it's going to be able to research. If it's going to do anything with code, you might check this one. And then you can create actions, which are, it's more complicated and beyond the scope of this video, but will allow you to do layered steps to things, to actual specific things you want it to do on its own, essentially. If you're curious about that, maybe we'll get into it in another video, or you can look into it on your own. You can even ask ChatGPT about it, but that's beyond the scope of what I'm doing here. So again, these are the 2 basic ways to just make a custom GPT. And then within the process of creating a custom GPT, you can build it yourself, or you can build it with AI. And that's what the end of this stream and video is going to be about. So building it yourself, what I might do right here, I'm going to think, and again, you are going to be limited here by your own ability to conceptualize and articulate your vision. If you have trouble with that, talk to ChatGPT to build it out. What do I mean by that? Let's say you don't know what you want it to do and you don't even know how to do it. We would just start a chat and I would say something like, I want to build, let's see, I want to move my keyboard. I want to build a custom GPT whose purpose is twofold. 1, be able to research and analyze current as of the day of the user's conversation, best practices in private practice marketing broadly as a psychotherapist in California, and specifically in how one's website is built, written, and SEO'd, search engine optimized. So if people look you up, can they find you? I'm not really sure how I should write the custom GPT instructions, so I want you to help me here. You could write something like this, and then we'll just see what it says. Great, designing custom GPT instructions is a smart move. Below is a draft prompt for the new custom GPT. We have some contextual contamination here, and we're just gonna step over that. Like right now, it says for your AI shaman values compass brand. It's not specifically what I'm doing here, and I'm actually not even sure why that contextual contamination is happening. And I don't want to waste any time investigating it now. I'll deal with that later. But let's see what it says. Okay. Draft custom GPT instruction set. Purpose. This GPT will serve 2 main roles. 1, research and analyze as of conversation date best practices in private practice marketing for psychotherapists in California. 2, provide detailed guidance on how to build, write, and SEO a therapist's website aligned with those best practices in the therapist niche and brand. This right here is enough. I could take this, go to, open this in a new tab, create, paste that in here, and then send, and now watch it build it. Simplest way to build a custom GPT. This is all it takes fundamentally. There's enough specificity here to narrow down what it should be, and enough clarity around the context that it can achieve some level of success immediately. I suggest call it California Therapist Marketing Expert. Does that name work for you? Yes. make the logo. Actually, I'm just gonna let you see what happens when you don't give it any other instructions. Yes, that name is fine. It's making a profile picture automatically. It's the next step. And then it'll ask me, do I like this profile picture? Though it's having issues with it. Normally what it'll do is it'll instantly create a logo. It'll appear right here. It might be that something to do with me live streaming or something. I have no idea. Again, I'm not going to get hung up on that or I'll lose my train of thought. But basically this GPT has now been made. All I do is click. I can test it here. So let's test it. Research the top 5 based on SEO who you find first. Psychotherapists focusing on EMDR for trauma, particularly for high functioning clients who are finally ready to do deeper work. Let's see, and then I'll ask it to distill why they are successful in their branding, marketing, etc. Let's see what it does. Here are 3 strong examples of trauma EMDR focused therapist practices. Breakdown of why their marketing appears to be effective. While you asked for top 5, I found fewer clearly positioned practices, so that's fine. If there's only 3 that stand out, that's exciting to me. Serenity in LA, why I included them. They specialize in concierge trauma therapy for executives. Those people probably make bank. In Los Angeles, explicitly citing EMDR as part of their trauma offering. Key takeaways. Niche clarity. They call out executives and business leaders. High stakes professional and distinguished trauma in an executive context. They emphasize flexible scheduling, same day, next day availability, confidentiality, and care. So these are all things that people who want this kind of therapy would matter to them. Evidence specialization. They clearly mention their specialty, advanced training, etc. And their messaging is aligned with high functioning clients. What you can adopt. If you're working with high functioning clients ready for deeper work, this kind of niche language helps. Speak directly to the ambitious stakes, discrete needs, and readiness for depth. Blair Wellness Group in Beverly Hills. Golden West Counseling. Common success patterns here and what you should replicate. Here are distilled commonalities from these practices and suggestions for your own marketing. Clear, niche, and audience. All 3 explicitly identify who they serve, what modality. So, and in terms of therapist stuff, you might not know exactly what it's saying in all this. In fact, you probably don't. But this all looks good. So it tells me what I can take that works well from them and what they may be doing wrong or what things I should consider. So this custom GPT works for a very simple approach to what I want to do. So we'll take this a step further and we'll test it against its audit ability now. So now I want you to audit my website. Not to change my niche, but to analyze it against best practices from what you've distilled and more generally, and let me know what action steps you'd recommend. My website is there. Make sure to read and analyze the home page and all sub pages, both in design, content, marketing, SEO, etc. Now let's see what it does. So this is unusual because normally, this might be because I'm in a testing environment, but I'm not sure. It says it can't actually go to the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create this thing now to get it out of the testing environment. So I click create. You can choose only me, anyone with a link, or public. So now we can go and have a conversation here, and I'm gonna say audit my website. So they must have changed this, because formerly I was able to give it a link and it would just immediately access it. So what we'll do instead is we'll say audit my website, look it up to find it and access it. Don't use this URL directly because it won't work for you, but you can use it to infer whatever details you need to find my website and then browse it. My name is Matthew Hake, and my domains are matthewhake.com or brighteyedtherapy.com. Both take you to the same place. I'm a psychotherapist, AMFT, APCC in California. Go. So, okay, so I found a workaround. For some reason, giving it my actual URL wasn't working. That's worked in the past. There's probably some stupid reason for that I can easily work around. But as you can see, I was able to work around it just by saying, look for my website. Here's how you can find me. Not really important to the bigger picture here of what I'm trying to do, show you how to build custom GPTs. Just a little snag that I hit with this specific purpose of it. But now it has audited my website. So yeah, this is me. Online, California, in person, Sacramento. Strengths, areas for improvement, actionable suggestions. What's working well? Clear niche and specialties. Strong call to action and accessibility. Excuse me. Good online and in-person coverage. Strong personality and voice. Content, blog presence, areas for improvement. Local SEO. Since you see in person in Sacramento and online in California, it's important to optimize for local keywords. I see. So more geography based text in there, like, you know, like midtown or downtown or things like that. Something I could do. I can then ask it, like, where are ways I could weave this in elegantly in the current, body of text and content that I already have, and it would help me do that. Title tags and meta descriptions. Couldn't inspect everything, but you want custom title tags. Okay. Keyword breadth, and long tail terms. You list anxiety, trauma, and OCD, but consider adding these types of terms. Intrusive thoughts, overthinking adults. Yep, this is all good. Blog linking. Make sure your blog posts link back to your service pages, which they don't. So, like, if somebody goes to my blog page and then reads the blog, there should be some way to link back to my website other than clicking the home button. Okay. Loading speed. So you don't need to know all this stuff, but it gave me a lot of good stuff that I can implement. Now, if there's something in here and I don't understand it, this is a common wall that new AI users hit, where they'll see something like, okay, domain consistency and redirecting. You mentioned both these domains. Make sure one domain is canonical primary and the other redirects properly. Oh, that's not actually the one I wanted to do, because that actually is set up correctly. Here we go. Title tags. I couldn't inspect everything, but you want custom title tags. So let's say I don't know how to do that, and I don't even know what this means. This is a step where most people will be like, I feel overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. This is too much information. Whenever you don't know what to do, tell it that. You're not talking to a human. And normally this would be a part where you might be like, I'm not going to bother them, right? Well, you're not bothering the AI. So I would copy this and say, this part, quote, paste, end quote, I don't understand. Concisely explain it to me, and since I use Wix, give me a clear, we'll just say newbie web develop. Let's see. I don't want to add web developer or web design in there because it might go a little bit more. Well, might take me in a direction I don't want to go. So what I'm going to say is, I don't understand. Concisely explain it to me. And since I use Wix, give me clear newbie instructions on how to implement this suggestion. Perfect. Great question. You're not alone. So now it's going to explain it to me, tell me how to implement it, etc., etc. It's literally going to walk me through it. Now, again, if you hit something where you're like, I don't understand this, I don't know how to do this, copy and paste that or explain it, take a screenshot, whatever, and tell it that. Anytime you hit a wall, tell it the wall you're hitting. If you don't know what the wall is, you just feel overwhelmed, tell it that. This is the part where this is like one of the biggest skill gaps between a novice AI user and a power user is you can, I could say, I could do something I've never done. Like, let's say I want, oh, here we go, perfect example. Before I started this project, Robo Shaman AI, I thought, man, I'm starting to get really proficient with AI. I've helped a lot of my colleagues learn to use AI and overhaul their own either private practice, paperwork type tasks, admin tasks, make them more efficient using AI, be better with marketing with AI. I've helped so many people. Surely this is something that I can offer as a service. But I don't know how to do consultation. I don't know how to build this out as a business. I don't know anything about this. So I literally asked AI, I told it my idea and said, how should I approach this? And then each step of the way, as I'm working and building it out, whenever I hit a rut or a wall or didn't know what to do, I would ask it that and just work through it. This is like how a lot of people, little secret behind the scenes, if you know anyone or if you have worked in IT or ever interacted with someone who works in IT who helps fix technical issues for any company, it's how a lot of them work, including myself when I was in IT. Let's say something simple like a printer's not working. And so I go onto the site of the company and I go check out the printer and I do all the normal things because this happens all the time. And for some reason, this printer's not coming online. I will be quietly Googling on my phone and giving it information about what error codes I'm seeing or what I'm running into, etc. They call it Google foo, or they did, how good you could Google things, and walk myself through solving it. This is, it's a problem solving skill you want to build out in how you think when you approach tasks with AI. You will, anytime you run into something you don't understand or need help with, or otherwise just hit a wall, stop and have the AI help you get through that part of it to move you along. A lot of people will get the big overview of whatever it is they want AI to help them do, but they won't think in terms of how you can drill down into specific issues, or if you hit a wall, you can zoom out and figure out, why am I hitting this wall? So on and so forth. I think you get the point. So to bring it all back to the custom GPT stuff, we have this California therapist marketing expert. It works basically. Now I could start a new chat, talk about dinner recipes, a couple days go by and then I come back and I go, you know what, I want to work on some more marketing stuff. I'll go to my GPTs. I'll find that GPT that I built. If it loads. Is it just a one-time snag or is it actually struggling to load? Well, anyway, I can still talk to this part. I will open up my GPTs. There it is. I'll find this one that I built, click it, boom, I'm in a whole new conversation, and it still knows its general purpose and has the rules built around how I want to use it. And this is a very simple one. Now we're going to get, well, actually, maybe I'll punctuate here and just say that is, one way you could make a custom GPT. Very simple, very straightforward. As just a secondary, really quick example, I'm going to show you, let's say, I want to make my own coloring book pages to print out for my kids, where basically the custom GPT's purpose is anytime I open a conversation with it, I want to give it a creative idea, and the only output it should give, other than clarifying questions if it needs to, is a black and white coloring book style image with just black outlines that's print ready, where all I do is say, a dragon in a crystal forest, boom, we got a coloring book page. Now you can see with just that idea alone, you could make your own coloring books. You could make personalized coloring books, whatever, and you could start a business just selling those and basically be built on that custom GPT. And I was actually going to make, I will make one. I have this one already made, but I want to show you what it looks like to make it. I want to make a custom GPT whose only purpose is to draw coloring book style images that are print ready. My vision is I want to make personalized coloring book pages for my own kiddos, where I can simply type a concept into the chat and it readily outputs a coloring book page of the idea. Sometimes when I ask ChatGPT to do this, I have to clarify things like bold black lines and all white negative space, because it will randomly fill in areas with color, for example, and other erroneous issues that cause hiccups when I'm doing this. I want this custom GPT to consider all best practices for making children's coloring book pages as generated images, as well as considering your own image generation capabilities and interpretations. Is that not a word, or did I spell it wrong? I spelled it wrong. Interpretations to maximize its ability to adhere to this vision. So you can see a little bit of how I prompt here. This is still, I would still consider this like a simple meta prompt. I've made some what I call super prompts, which that'll be another stream for another day, but where you can make unbelievably specific, powerful, layered prompts to accomplish unbelievable things. So it's great. Your GPT is now set up. I suggest naming it Coloring Page Creator or Kitty Color Crafter. Let's go with the first. Let's see if it actually makes the profile picture now. I think this is on OpenAI's end. Let's just assume that this works normally. Some technical issue to create the logo. But it looks like it's ready, so let's test it now. A mouse adorned in fantasy night gear approaching a giant dragon guarding a gold pile in a cave. So this custom GPT, again, its purpose is to create coloring book pages where all you provide is the concept and the output is always in coloring book page format. You can do this in any conversation by specifying all of these things in the request. So I can open up a blank chat in ChatGPT and say, make me a coloring book page for a kid's coloring book, and it should be this. But I found, at least in past models, that sometimes there would be weird issues, like certain areas to be colored in. Maybe it didn't have, it was too elaborate or not detailed enough or whatever. So we get all of those base rules of what we want boiled down into the instructions of a single custom GPT so that it always does what we want in a repeatable, easily accessible, efficient way. That's what we're doing here. I didn't consider this part. Sometimes images are generated really quickly. Sometimes it takes a bit longer. Okay, here we go. See, look. This already has an issue. This is actually a great example of how to update your GPTs. So we're gonna let that render. I'm gonna come back here to a blank GPT page, and I'm gonna show you. It's interesting. It really missed the mark. This is easy to fix, but it's very strange that it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say stop, and I'm gonna say, the image you were generating was not a coloring book page style image. All images you generate should be blank white entirely, ready to color, with all composition in the form of black lines. Think children's coloring ready coloring book style image. You are supposed to understand that all requests, regardless of any specifics, come out in a way that adheres to this style. I'm actually not going to put it there. I'm going to go back over here. You can update your GPT before you publish it right here in this left side. So I'm going to take what I said and say, I did a test image, but the image you were generating was not a okay. So there's that. So now we're going to update that and we'll see what it does and see if it fixes it. This is actually a great example of things you might run into when you're building these. Sometimes you can one-shot things. There we go. Now it says it'll strictly adhere to it. So let's try the same thing. A mouse in fantasy knight armor with a sword and shield approaching a giant dragon guarding a gold pile. Let's say a pile of treasure. No, we want to test it. To see gold is a color, so I was wondering if that's what threw it off, but it should adhere to it now. A gold pile in a cave. I'm really tempted while this is going, because normally, well, jumping ahead, I'm really tempted while this is going to move on to explaining, doing advanced one-shot custom GPT instructions, but I don't, for the sake of the video, I want it to be, you know, as much as I kind of can easily get distracted and jump ahead of my own thoughts sometimes. I need to try to keep myself on the rails, even though I hate sitting here live waiting for this to generate. So after we get this custom GPT to work, and you can kind of see how you can iteratively, meaning back and forth through conversation, input, output, refine any custom GPT. Sometimes it needs testing. Sometimes the task is simple and doesn't. But regardless, if you need to do that, you do it over here in the left. You explain your ideas, explain what's going right, what's going wrong. It's still not working. I'm going to go over to configuration. Let's see what it says here. It's interesting that it says this. It strictly adheres to the visual style. All images must consist only of black lines on black. Yeah, and yet it still did it. So these instructions are perfect. I don't know what's causing this issue. It figures, you know, when I go live that it has this issue. It may very well, you know, be the fact that I said gold that gave it color. So I could sit and play with this some more, but I'm not going to. Let's say that I figure out where, you know, I figure out why it's doing this and I correct it, click create, publish it. We're going to go to the one that I've already made, which I'm pretty sure should just work. Let's go to my custom GPTs. Color crafter. Let's see. A mouse with fantasy knight armor approaching a giant dragon guarding a gold pile in a cave. I'm really stubborn here and I just want to prove that this works. I know that it does. And I could easily like have GPT analyze where the issue is in the instructions. I could literally copy those instructions in a separate conversation or even in there and say, you know, every time this custom GPT is outputting an image with this prompt, the knight with the sword and shield, dragon and gold pile, it's still rendering in color. What is it about your image generation or instructions that's causing this bug essentially? How can I correct it? It'll give me the guidance, and then I go do that. It's easily fixable. I just don't want to waste a bunch of time doing it. I want to just demonstrate, hopefully this one that I built before, which I haven't used in a while, actually will output a coloring book page. It's looking, at least in this blur, that it's black and white, so that's promising. Nope, same issue. Let's try. Well, let's move on. because I don't have a ton of time and I want to get into advanced techniques. What I think is causing this issue is that I'm giving it I'm giving it something that can be interpreted as a color and not just an element, which is gold. So if you wanted to fix this, and actually what I might do is I'll just ask it. This prompt I gave you, no matter made you generate a color image despite your instructions, I was trying to make a new custom GPT that does the same thing you do, color crafter, and it also had the same issue. Based on what you know about prompt instructions related to image generation, my goal using you, in parentheses, making coloring ready printable images, and your prompt interpretation as well as custom instructions. Why do you think this is, and how can I fix this in your custom instructions? Beyond this instance, where any accidental errors can be avoided, so that images are always all white negative space and black lines only. So let's see what it says. So we're going to pivot in this point to actually just show you how to test and debug and fix a custom GPT. Your prompt, so it says prompt ambiguity and system bias towards fantasy art defaults. Strongly implies a fantasy scene, a genre that usually defaults to this: paint a dramatic color image. It often interprets these prompts as requests for epic concept art unless explicitly told otherwise. No explicit style constraint. Even though your custom instructions say to always generate black and white line art, the image generation model itself doesn't read your instructions unless passed through as explicit prompt tokens, without hard constraints. Okay. Model interpretation gap between GPT and DALL-E. Okay. It doesn't inherit the custom GPT's instructions unless they're embedded directly into each prompt. To bulletproof it, modify how prompts are sent to the image generator. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm not even going to read all this. What I'm going to say is, and here's right now, like, I'm going to show you how to update a custom GPT on the fly. Let's say you have any custom GPT for any purpose, and you've either, one, ran into a bug and you need to fix it, two, have come up with a new idea to make it better, or three, for any other reason, want to change something about how it works, your custom GPT. You can write your own updates and then apply them very easily without actually having to write the update. Just explain what you want the update to do. So as you can see here, we debugged why my color crafter custom GPT isn't making black and white photos or images. Now what I'm going to say with everything it says, based on everything you've shared here, make a bulletproof GPT instructions update that I can copy paste into your instructions in the create chat, that will apply the update into the custom GPT framework without messing anything unrelated up. Synthesize the copy paste ready instructional patch now. This is actually great because I wouldn't have thought to do this in this video, but this is something that you're going to want to need to know, how to debug and update custom GPTs. Now, if you're thinking right now, like, oh my God, this is way more than I want to do. I just want to make a custom GPT that helps me deal with my marketing or make social media posts. You don't need to debug, a lot of custom GPTs in this sort of way that I'm doing right now. This is something that is only really necessary when you have a clear vision that is just the GPT is not quite nailing it, and it's really important to you for whatever reason that it nails it. You can take this extra step to figure out what's going wrong using AI, as you saw. I didn't come up with what was going wrong. I asked it to figure it out, and then to write a patch from that. So we're going to go here, copy all of this, and then what we'll do is we'll go to Color Crafter, Edit GPT. You can also get here by, if you go to My GPTs, find Color Crafter, click this right here, Edit GPT. This will take you back to the creation screen. Now I could go in here, and I could also ask the AI to just give me the actual specific instructions and put them in here. And this is what it wrote from when I originally created it. It's full system prompt. But I'm going to do it the simple way. Paste the patch in here. Update. That easy. You're fundamentally an app developer if you're doing this. With zero code knowledge, because your code language is English. I'm also going to switch the model to GPT-5 Instant. Update. So I haven't used this since GPT-5 came out. View Color Crafter. I'm going to use the same prompt. On a mouse with fantasy knight armor facing a dragon who is guarding a pile of gold in a cave. Fingers crossed. Interesting now. It defaulted to 4. I'm not sure why that was, but we'll see if this works. Because it defaulted to 4, I'm curious if I needed to wait a second to get the updated version. But we'll see if this fixes it. So once we successfully update this custom GPT, we'll have now gone through what a custom GPT is and why you might consider using it, how to build one, simple basic steps, how to have AI help you along the way through that, and then if you run into issues, how to consider having the AI itself diagnose, solve those issues, and then write a patch for you and how to put that patch in, and as you can see, it worked. So we're finally there. I now put roughly the same prompt, same keywords, mouse, fantasy, knight, armor, facing a dragon, guarding a pile of gold in a cave, and this time it did it. So in theory, if we've solved this issue, which I believe we have, I can just give it any prompt now, and it should always be coloring book ready. So I can now download this image once it's done generating, download this image, print it, print a bunch of different images, either in a single theme or whatever, and make my own personalized coloring book, full coloring books. I could sell them, just make them for my kids, whatever. And voila, there you go. You can, we'll do another one, new idea. We'll try to give it some artistic inspirations. Sometimes you run into copyright issues here, so we'll try to avoid that. I'm not trying to make anything copywritten, but I want to draw from certain styles. So we'll say inspired by Elden Ring aesthetic without anything specifically from Elden Ring. A landscape, let's see, a gothic landscape ridden with plague with a giant obelisk in the distance. This is pretty cool, actually, because this is a more advanced idea. Like Elden Ring is a advanced, mature, I should say. Elden Ring is like a mature game designed for older audiences, not young kids. It assumed complex detail level, ideal for adult colorists. So we'll see how that comes out. But fundamentally now you've seen how to build a a coloring book page generator that can do this whenever you want. And so as this finishes, we'll move on to the final part of the video where I'm going to do what I actually need it to do, which is create a one-shot super prompt basically for building a custom GPT. Oh, interesting. This one, it is adhering to the black and white, but because it said complex detail level. So this is another thing. If I want this to be perfect, I would say I would expand on how, when I asked it to do this, it came up with this issue where some of the stuff is already shaded in. This is not coloring book ready. It's really just black and white. You could marker over it and it would work, but there's the next thing. I could screenshot this, explain to it the issue. The design is cool, but it's not black and white because it went for too much detail. But we can debug that, fix it, and go from there. But I think you get it. You get it, you got it. All right, so I'm not going to do this right now. What I'm actually going to do is my favorite way of building custom GPTs, and this is a bit more advanced. You're going to watch me work through articulating a super prompt that the AI itself is going to help me build to make a custom GPT design for this marketing audit type thing I want to do for my private practice, but in a much more robust and effective way. So here's how we're going to do that. Now you're just going to watch me type now. So this is more of an advanced technique. Learn from it what you will. You can watch how I think, watch how I write and articulate. I'm programming in English here. Your ability to articulate and conceptualize and solve problems all matter. Those are the skills you want to be working on if you want to take your AI skills in terms of prompting and building with English to whatever heights you want to reach for. So I'm going to go for thinking because I want maximum brain power. And I'm going to say, this is how I write when I'm doing these kind of prompts. So it might look strange to you, or it might look normal if you do this kind of stuff as well. Okay. Request. Vision. Let's see. I want you to synthesize a one-shot super prompt to build a custom GPT for me. Primary goal. Let's see. I gotta think about this. To be robust and custom GPT instructions I can just paste in the creation chat box when I make it, and it one-shots the custom GPT. So, semicolon. Let's see, the end goal, vision, purpose of the custom GPT is to serve as a personal website auditor for my private practice as a psychotherapist, specifically for when I change, adjust my niche, or want to stay at the front of cutting edge marketing practices that are rapidly changing or developing as more and more entrepreneurs and therapists in private practice are using AI to help with their marketing, branding, SEO, discoverability, click through for potential clients, etc. There is already a gap emerging between therapists who are well niched versus not, using AI to perfect or polish top level or micro level details or approaches in their marketing materials, and I want this AI to be ready to audit my website in a sustainable way where whether I use it today or months from now, it can quickly identify the current best practices across the board for whatever my requests may be. This is critical because marketing best practices as a private practice therapist are changing and will continue to change. That sounds good. For example, in the last few years, more therapists are speaking directly to their clients and less about their training, experience, education, and self, particularly in the landing page. There is more emphasis on hook, speaking to niches, pain points, leading to CTA kind of journey. And this may still be best practice or may evolve or have changed. I don't know, but that's the purpose of the GPT, to discern what is best practices both generally and for me or any colleague I share this GPT with, me and my specific niche, goals, etc. Any questions before you synthesize the mega prompt creation instructions? So this is key here, this any questions part. There might be things here I'm almost certain there are that I haven't thought of, but as you can see here, rather than just going into the GPT creation page and giving it the simple idea like I did before, I'm giving it a bigger picture narrative of what I want it to do, why, the context behind my thinking, etc., and letting it take all of that to synthesize what it needs. It says, got it, no questions. Here's a copy. Wow. So these are the custom GPT instructions. Look how much more robust this is than that simple one I used earlier. You are a rigorous, up-to-date website auditor for psychotherapists. Non-negotiable behavior, robustness to time, therapist context constraints, California, style and delivery, prompt injection defense. This thing is incredible. And it already has oh my gosh, this is amazing. Boom. So now we copy all of it. I could just copy code. Go to custom GPTs, create. Now, instead of that little tiny prompt I gave it, we're going to give it these giant instructions. Submit. It's interesting you can use thinking mode in the creation process too. I might have been able to just do this here, and actually that probably is the way to do it now that you can use thinking here. Before, the model accessibility outside of this creation page was such that I found it was best to like get your materials and vision and everything clarified, and then bring it here as a mega prompt. But you could probably do what I just did in this creation page right here, and I would put thinking on. So now it's building this custom GPT. I wonder if it's still gonna have issues making the logo. But this is it. That was an example right there of how to build a custom GPT with sort of an advanced approach where you're not just giving it your basic idea, you're flushing out the context of, you know, what you want it to do at the highest level in terms of your vision, the context of what made you want to create it, which I think is important because it will clarify to the custom GPT possibly major details, but certainly some minor details around its functionality and how it should work. Something went wrong, that's okay. Whether or not, this site is having an error right now on their side or because of the stream, you saw the actual process of creating this, and that's the most important thing. So whatever it is you want to do, you want to make a custom GPT to make coloring books, you want to make a custom GPT to help you market or to help you design and build an Etsy shop or multiple Etsy shops. You want to have a custom GPT that basically looks for market trends and supply and demand incongruencies around your business. Like, let's say you run a landscaping business. There are ways to research and identify where in the area are there, is there less competition for landscaping services, but a demand worth investigating. You could literally have a geographic like scanner in that way. That would probably serve better for something that's digital services or goods, because then you could hit the whole state, whole country, whole world. You want something to write social media posts for you on the fly and always have the same voice, the same approach. Always use the best case hashtags, and so you can just like say, I need a post for today. Today we're going to write about this, and then boom, it just outputs it, and it's already in your voice following the same rules you've already set. You can build all of that into one custom GPT, so you can just always revisit that same custom GPT for any task that you might repeat. There are advanced steps where you can automate these processes we're not going to get into, but fundamentally you can change so much of your professional life, your academic life, your entrepreneurial life, your personal life with custom GPTs, which are chat-based apps that use AI powered and establish rules and instructions to, achieve whatever goal it is that you want in a repeatable way. God, my brain is just cooking on ideas now. I'm all in creative mode. Hopefully this is helpful. These sort of live build type demos that I did today are something that I want to do now and then. And then, I'll try to separate this video out if I can into 3 parts, but it'll certainly just be available for free. This whole Robo Shaman platform that I'm doing is like a side passion project. I'm not doing this to make money, though I do offer consultation services and coaching services, whether that's like, spending a couple hours with you to help you refine how you're using ChatGPT, because sometimes it helps you and sometimes you struggle and it's something that you're doing and you just don't know why. I can help you with that. If you want me to audit something in your business and build a custom GPT for you or build multiple for you, I can do that. Designing marketing materials, art, media, whatever, I can do that. Whether it's helping you do it from a freelance perspective or coaching or consultation, all of that is available, and it's something that I really enjoy doing, but my time is fairly valuable, so it is something that like I'm offering as a paid service. But this platform fundamentally is not built for that. It's built to offer free advice, in the form of prompts, in the form of videos, guides, tutorials, whatever, to help anybody, entrepreneurs, people who just want to help in their personal life. I just want to take what I know and offer it to other people and show how you can take AI from being something that's, very helpful to life-changing, which I fully believe it is and can be. It's just a passion of mine. I see AI as like AI and the tech innovation and development as equal parts thrilling and terrifying. but I see it as an escalator, meaning that, it's going up. We're going to move forward. We've all sort of, I think, it's kind of common knowledge now that this is an inevitable development of tech, and it's the future. And my reasoning, and at least how I like to operate in this framework, is I want to be at the top of the escalator so I can see the horizon and what's there and be best prepared for it. I want to position myself the best I possibly can to, do what I can, as a father, husband, to provide and, protect and support my family, and also, just for my own personal career, my own passions and hobbies and interests for posterity and for passion, whatever. I'm all in that way. I do find that I can work, for weeks sometimes, with AI, getting a lot of stuff done in a way that I never could have before. But then I'll also need breaks sometimes, where it's just like I need to go back to thinking in normal human conversation and not in prompting logic, and staying connected to my humanity. But that's a whole other, philosophical conversation. All I want to do is just offer a way to share what I've learned and what I'm learning as an AI power user, no code developer. It's just a couple examples of some things I've done. If you go to this little For Therapist page on my private practice website, I built this EMDR web app, not to be used by non-clinicians, but this is for bilateral stimulation. Has a few different settings from how you follow this with your eyes. You have 2 speeds, 2 different styles, a counter, which is for me, color changing, start stops with space. This is a basic HTML web app that I built without knowing HTML or how to code at all, using AI to do all of it. And it's very simple. I got trained in EMDR and I wanted a way to do it virtually, and I didn't want to pay for one of the services out there because they're clunky and overpriced. So I built my own. And you could build video games, you can do anything without any code experience if you know how to work with AI. And probably the next set of content that I release is going to be more on how you think and how you speak with AI to build out your skill set, fundamentally as an AI developer who writes in English, because that's really what using AI is, at least this type of AI. Whenever you're using prompts, you are programming with English. So, think about, how articulate am I? What's my vocabulary? How do I work on this stuff? If you have limited vocabulary or limited articulation, it's going to be difficult to articulate whatever your vision is. And so maybe you don't want to do that. That's something you can ask for help with. From me, from anyone, pay a coach, consultant, a developer, and they can do that. But if you want to learn to be the best, either no code developer or just AI power user, broadly speaking, that you can be, that's what you want to work on. It's, logic, critical reasoning, and problem solving, brainstorming and vision conceptualization, and fundamentally articulating your ideas effectively and specifically using English. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I'm going to refresh this and see. GPT instructions too long, it says. Okay. So that's what happened. So what we're going to say is the GPT instructions were too long. Need to total less than 8,000. Prune and reformat only non-essential characters to maximize fidelity while compressing character usage to the required, the character limit. Go again. I want you to see this when it's done, but consider the guide basically done. That's the end of this. I have 2 clients coming up, virtual, that I'm gonna have to work with soon, so I got to wrap this up. But this should do what I need it to do. I'm gonna do one simple test once it's done. Only me. So that's fine. I'm going to go and take my website. I just want to say, let's paste that. How is my very first impression when you load my web page? It's interesting watching it think through this. Clean modern layout, clear promise vibe, phone number, book. What's fuzzy costing you clicks? Who it's for isn't explicit. Line is intriguing but vague. I had to scan to find anxiety. Okay. CTA sits low in here and blends into the background, doesn't pop. Great. Fast wins today and tomorrow. Optional but helpful next steps. I mean, that right there just gives me easy to follow changes I could make to my website. I'm going to ask it a broader question. What are, let's see, if my niche is essentially high functioning trauma survivors who are ready to do deeper work and who are ready to do deeper work, what are the, let's see, what is it exactly that I want to know here? If my niche is essentially high functioning trauma survivors who are ready to do deeper work, what are the most important factors for my landing page and website design? Yeah, there you go. Last question, then we're going to end the stream. We'll see how this goes, because I can already tell that this website auditor that I made is going to do what I need it to do. I may or may not refine it with some updates as I use it and notice that, oh, I don't need it to do this, or I need more of that, or whatever. That would be something I might do. Can't you hide the sidebar? I thought there was a little button. That's okay, though. So it calls for a page that feels safe, expert, and decisive. No clinical jargon. Short list of what matters most and how to build it. Must-haves ranked. Crystal clear hero. Who, what, where, outcome plus next step. Trauma-informed. Safety control, predictability, no autoplay, video animation, channel stable layout. Plain language, low jargon, ethical proof of expertise without testimonials, compliance for, okay, accessibility. So right there I got, these are the fundamental things. So I could then say, okay, based on all this, go to my website and tell me where it's successful, where it might need work, and then give me a high level view of how to overhaul my website, as well as the priorities and easiest fixes to start. And we could go from there. It's easy for me to want to just keep going and giving you more information, but I'm going to try to end here and stop and have this just sort of be where this is contained. So again, sort of the summary. Once again, today we went over what custom GPTs are, their general purpose, and how you might use them, why you might use them, how to build one in the most simplest way to just get going and get something up and running, to how to debug them if they're not doing what you want to and you want to refine how they approach whatever task it is they're designed to do, how to update them, and to implement either bug fixes or other instructional changes that you come up with, and then finally how to build a custom GPT using advanced reasoning and thinking from GPT itself to synthesize the most robust instructions that you can to one-shot create a powerful GPT that needs less updating, needs less refinement. Fundamentally, that's the whole reason for why I approach GPT design that way. Is over the months or however long it's been, almost a year, I guess, maybe longer. Since I've been using this, I've realized that when I build custom GPTs, when I find issues in how they work or things I want to refine, I have to update them. And I got better at writing good updates and having the AI help me write good updates. But I don't want to have to spend a lot of time updating them. So I find it's best to give all the context and everything ahead of time to have GPT synthesize the best instructions to one shot a robust instructional system prompt for the custom GPTs, so that hopefully it does what I want it to the best of its capabilities, aligned with my vision, out of the box. But you can always update it. So hopefully this is helpful. And feel free to follow along, subscribe to the channel, follow my RoboShaman AI Facebook page. If you're curious about me as a psychotherapist, all that stuff's out there. But my goal with this platform is to take everything I know about the human mind and how we think and operate, from things humans do well generally to things we struggle with, as well as my background in tech, as someone who was in IT and network admin, and just fundamentally I think in systems logic, and synthesize these things to offer sort of what I think are two of my greatest strengths, being someone who can speak the language of tech and programming and human mind and psychology, to give anything and everything I can that's helpful related to AI, from navigating it, using it as a beginner, power user, whatever, in the form of prompts, advanced techniques, anything and everything in between. So if you find any of this helpful, follow along. The vast majority of stuff I release will be totally free. And then if you're somebody who, if at some point this guy, I really like how he works, I like what he knows, you have some sense of my expertise or want my help, you can reach out to me, talk about consultation or coaching. I'd be happy to work with you. My favorite people to work with would be, individual entrepreneurs, small teams, influencers, business owners, and especially psychotherapists, but really anybody. So hope that was helpful, and take